Hello and welcome back to the pod. Welcome back to the Quality Piles podcast. Today we have a couple topics to just review a little bit. It's a big day here in Canada. Actually, the first person got their vaccine today. First public person. It was actually a healthcare worker. But I think we got a news article here from CTV that we're going to pull up here and take a look and see what's actually going on. Bev, what do we got?
Oh yeah, like you said, Eric, looks like the first person just got their COVID vaccine, and the whole thing I'm wondering with all this is how effective is it going to be in the early days of getting out? Like most people I've talked to, maybe not most, maybe say 70 or 75%, really have expressed a lot of concern with taking it and a lot of distrust. So I don't know. Maybe it's to start off, and maybe even rather than focusing on the article, what do you guys think of what it's going to look like when they start rolling this out more aggressively? Because obviously, initially, and some of what the article's talking about is how frontline workers, so nurses, doctors, all that, will be the first ones to get it. Indigenous communities as well. I can't remember who the third group was, but it's all people who are considered at risk. So how do you think
Why?
this rollout's actually going to happen?
Like not to be like insensitive or anything, but so I get it. Healthcare workers, sure, people who are sick, but indigenous communities, is it because they don't have access to good healthcare on the reserve, or what's going on there? Like, not that they shouldn't get it, like not definitely don't not mentioning that at all, but I just healthcare workers, sure, indigenous communities second, question mark. Like, shouldn't it be like old people? Like if you pull up who's actually dying from this, like you can pull it up on Canada's website. Like it's people 70s and 80s. Like that's who's dying. Like in the big majority of it. Like I'm not saying that young people don't die. Of course they do. Of course they do on this one. But the vast majority of people who are dying from it are in their 70s and 80s. Like shouldn't people in nursing homes be some of the top people to get this one? Or but
Yeah,
maybe yeah, I don't know. I don't. I just I know what I see on articles like CTV or something like that. But
yeah. Well, that is a big priority. Is obviously vaccinating those people that are most affected by it. That they're definitely on the list. The whole thing about indigenous communities, it's really more about not so much like Caledonia or any of these places that are close to a big city, but like when you go way up north. And they have very little access to like medical resources and stuff like that.
gotcha.
That's where
Okay.
it's super problematic because it starts spreading there, and then they're pretty much screwed. They have nothing they can really do about it. So I think that's more the reason why they're doing that. I think Bev's pulling something up on the screen here about that very subject. What do we got here,
Okay.
Bev?
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it's. This wasn't the article I was thinking, but they were. I read something earlier today where they were talking about how they're sending in the military now to some of these communities that are way up north, and really like they might have a clinic or something, but they won't necessarily have a doctor on staff. They might just have like
Or like a
an RN or
respirator.
something.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's right. So they're really restricted in
Okay.
what they've got. So like the military will show up and they'll bring in generators and a respirator and all that type of equipment for them. Because as soon as some of these areas get a case or two, like a lot of them aren't social distancing and not wearing masks or any of that, so it just spreads very very quickly.
No
So
kidding. Yeah.
so in
But
the end, like
how?
they do get ice, like they are quarantined in some respect that they're all
Yeah, I was
kind
going to
of
say how do they get it? How does COVID get up there? You know, but I mean, you got to be getting, I guess, supply drops from like those bush planes all the time to get stuff onto those reserves. Like I don't know. Have any of you guys actually been to a reserve that's not like the one right here, like Caledonia or something like that? Have you ever any of you been to one of those places?
No, I've only been to ones that are like in cities. Like I remember we went to one in Winnipeg that was just outside of the city, but it was the same thing as Caledonia, basically, where it's a pretty well developed one,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, wealthier.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
because like originally that's what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, well, it's in the city, but no, I wasn't thinking like way in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that makes sense to get the vaccine.
The only thing I can think, I remember we drove through one on Vancouver Island when we were heading out to Fino, And you could tell, like, it's everyone. It went from like really nice houses to all of a sudden, not so nice houses, and it changed quickly. And so you could see it there, where there's like, if people are living in basically like a dilapidated trailer. I mean, the last thing they're concerned about is wearing their masks and social distancing and all that, right? It's that hierarchy of needs type thing. It's not even up there.
Well, let me ask you, like, if you were living in that situation, would you give a crap about social distancing? No.
No,
Like, I just
no.
wouldn't. Like, I mean, I've been out, like, I have no idea. Like, doing whatever I'm doing in the bush all day long. When I come home, I want to go see people. I don't want to be alone already. Like, I've been alone all day, or for a week at a time, going on a hunting trip or whatever they're doing. I have no idea. But, like, I can see how they're not social distancing that much.
Yeah, I had a friend who went up there to teach like a summer camp thing with kids. She's trying to remember where she said she was. It was way the hell up north. I mean, like they had to get supply drops and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty much like the Wild West up there, like every aspect of life, from what she described to me at least. So yeah, I imagine that they're not giving a whole lot of fucks about this thing. So,
Yeah.
I could see why, you start to have a few cases and it's a real shit show, especially because, like I said, they don't have resources to treat it. But yeah, it's definitely worse when you have folks that are not even trying at all, right? So we might get a couple people in here who scream they don't need to wear a mask at Walmart or whatever, but the majority of people in a big town, whether they believe in it or not, will just do it because it's the fucking law right now, or anyway, right? So I think honestly, like, I don't know about you guys, but I see, like, I rarely see people that aren't adhering to the guidelines, like, other than, the odd person who's screaming about their rights at Walmart, which has been, like, I've seen that, like, twice in the last however many months this has been mandatory. Like, I don't know. It's been, in the big cities, I don't really think it's such an issue, right? But I'm imagining up there, it's like, what's a mask, bud?
Yeah, where are they even go get those masks? Like, I'm sure they can't, like, Amazon it in. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't imagine how expensive those things are up there. But okay, that makes more sense. Way more sense to me. Healthcare workers is the third group of people, like, old people, like at-risk people, or what is it?
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find something on it.
Yeah, and another question for you, like, is only the Pfizer vaccine the one that's rolling out right now?
Yeah,
Like,
in Canada, that's the only officially approved one. So at the moment, that Moderna one's obviously next in line, and the difference between the two, from what I understand, and once again, nobody on this podcast is a doctor. We all just read the internet like everybody else. Is that the issue with the Pfizer one is that you need to store it at minus 80 degrees, which is very, very difficult and very expensive, and there's not a lot of equipment for that. Whereas the Moderna one is only minus 20, which is pretty standard issue for most vaccines. So I think that really that broad expanse of lots of people getting the vaccine isn't going to happen until they have that Moderna one available and in large supply. And the thing is, like, people are arguing about getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine or whatever, but whatever your feelings are, it doesn't really matter, because as an average person who's not in a high risk category, who's not a first line worker or anything like that, you're not even going to have an opportunity to say yes or no for quite a while, to be honest, right? Like, so people don't seem to get is like, even if they approve it tomorrow, you're not even going to have a chance as just an average person to say you want it or don't want it for months.
yeah, and right there. So Bev just pulled up Canada's COVID-19 immunization timeline, and looking at it, like, we're starting in December. Second stage is like Q1, so January to March, then Q2, April to June, and then Q3 and 4 afterwards. And so in December, they're looking at immunizing, is that 125,000 people? Wow. That's pretty aggressive, but that's less than 1% of the population here. So it's got to be, like you said, like, frontline workers. Like, those are the people, and those are the people who should have it. Like, if anything, like, I don't know about you guys, like, I've never got the flu shot, like the regular flu shot that they have every single year. I've never got it. I don't know.
Started. I got it last or 2 years ago, and last year. I didn't get one this year, obviously, but just because they're not sold out, they ran out. But
they ran out. Wow.
I had never taken it before that. I just started doing it recently.
So just to put it in perspective too, we were looking at a chart on the screen here that was talking about 125,000 people this month in 2020 December. So we just had our big shipment of this first wave which is 250,000 vaccines. But that's a 2-part vaccine. You need to come back, I think it's 3 weeks later to get part 2 of it. So you need 2 shots. There's like a booster one for it. So yeah, that 250,000 vaccines isn't 250,000 people. It's actually even less than that, right? It's only 125,000. So that's the other thing people don't realize is that it's not like just everyone's going to have to go in and get one shot. You might have to get more than one. And then they're going to have to try. I know, of course, the tracking thing is something people are going to freak out about, but they're going to have to track who you are, where you got it. You know, did you get shot 1? Did you get shot 2? Which brand did you get? Like stuff like that, right? So it's going to be a huge. This is why they have the military involved, right? Like you see all these people screaming about like, you know, oh, the military is involved. This has got to be a conspiracy theory.
Well, it's logistics.
No, it's logistics. They have to measure. Like they're the only kind of people who deal with this kind of shit. You know, in an orderly fashion on a regular basis for everything they do, right? So.
Yeah, like
no, it's a good thing for sure. Like you don't want fucking Doug Ford just writing it in his iPhone or whatever. So,
well, I'm just looking at this chart here, and so Q2 they're looking at immunizing 1 million people a month, so 3 million total people, and then after that it's ramped up, and they're trying to say between 15 and 19 million. So between 4 and 5 million people a month are going to be vaccinated. Like that's insane. Where are you getting this? Like that's just wild to me. Like how long it's going to take. Like I don't know how long it takes to get a vaccine, but I'm sure there's going to be so many steps to that process, like you're saying, for tracking reasons and things like that. That's really ambitious.
Yeah, I don't
think
there's any way they'll be able to
people
do
a
this.
day, basically, right? For a month. That's fucking crazy.
where are you going to get it? Like it's like who's getting that? Number one, who's getting that contract? Ooh. This
Frankly,
is for
I
part
don't
2.
think they're not going to need to go all the way to 100. Like I can't imagine they would really have to vaccinate more than, you know, say 30 or 40% of the population altogether. Because once you get to the point where it's not spreading anymore and you have control, like you don't really need everyone to take it. I mean, I think it's.
Well, no, I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Start to see it under control once we get to early summer, because my thought on it is once you get like those really vulnerable populations, you stop seeing the cases where people are able to fight it on their own. You know, like a younger person can just go kind of deal with it and get over it.
Wow.
I don't know if those people are necessarily gonna, if they're like, they might mandate it, maybe not, but I think they'll be able to deal with it sooner than that.
The doctors, pretty much, like from all the reports I've seen over the last few months, and once again, I'm just reading the internet like anyone else, take it with a grain of salt, but kind of from different countries and different doctors, what they seem to be saying, and people who study this, epidemiologists, and that they're saying once you're between like 70, like 50 to 70%, there's been a bunch of reports, but that seems to be the sweet spot, especially a lot of them are agreeing with the 70%. Once you have 70%, you know, vaccinated or 70% immunity, whether it's through vaccination or acquired immunity by actually having it, you end up in a situation where in a group of 10 people, 7 people can't get it. So the 3 that can get it are probably not going to, right? So that's the thing, is once they hit that, and I think, you know, Bev was right, like it starts to be around that 50% range where you see the effects of that, because they're still going to be tracking, you know, cases and positive tests and all that shit for a while. But once we see that really, you know, really bottom out and stay there, you know, I think that they have no excuse to not start opening up things a little bit more for sure. And, you know, when it comes to being mandated, it sounds like, you know, they're not willing to actually mandate it and say, hey, you have to take this. But, you know, there was a report earlier this week, I can't remember which minister it was, at least in Ontario, and he was saying, you know, yeah, it won't be mandatory. However, be prepared to face restrictions when doing certain activities, right? And I think that's probably what you're going to see is it's, you know, and of course, you know, while we're not mandating it to you, but if you want to do anything other than sit in your house, bud, then you got to take it. So,
well, that's
the choice.
And that's a great example. So like when this first started and countries started to reopen back up, especially in Europe, you could get crazy seat sales to go to like Portugal and Spain and things like that. The only thing is, to get there, all you needed was a test, and people were up in arms about, oh my God, I don't want to have to go get a COVID test. That looks horrible. I'm not getting my brain swabbed. Like, I don't know if either you guys have got a COVID test before. Like, I've got a few, and it's really not that bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Not at all. Like, it's just blown way out of proportion on what it is. But we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what actual restrictions are placed on people. Like, if it's based on travel, I don't know. Like, I'm not really concerned about it's a weird thing. Like, I'm not super concerned about catching it while traveling, but I do not like the fact that insurance companies just blanket said, if you catch COVID-19, we will not cover you. Like, that's
Yeah,
insane.
I just would want to catch it in another country. Like even if you're in, you have good travel insurance or whatever, and you're in the States or
Yeah.
something, or like Europe or whatever. Still, I would want to be overseas, getting stuck with COVID, and then you quarantine for 2 weeks at the minimum, and another month maybe trying to get over it in another country.
Have you
Yeah,
guys
so
ever
How
have
do
you
you
guys
afford
ever
that if
seen
you're someone who needs to be working and can't work remotely or whatever too, right? That's a big
you
problem.
just go broke. You go broke. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't know if you guys ever seen this YouTube guy. It's called Bald and Bankrupt.
oh yeah,
Fantastic YouTuber. Everyone should go check him out. It's just a British dude who loves traveling not so well traveled countries. Like, he started off traveling like the classic ones, like Thailand and India. And now he's all through the ex-Soviet bloc. So anyways, COVID's going on. He's like, screw this, I'm going traveling. Goes to Belarus, because Belarus has famously said, no, you don't, we're not shutting down, just go drink some vodka and you'll be fine. Anyways, that dude caught COVID in Belarus. So you're getting Belarusian, I don't know, Belarusian, whatever, healthcare in Belarus. That's what you're getting. And so he's sitting there. He didn't make any videos. He's like, I'm in Belarus. Didn't make any videos for a while. Made a video like, hey, by the way, I caught COVID. This is no joke. And then he's like, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. But it's wild because, like, he was stuck in a hospital in Belarus. Like, not saying anything bad about Belarus, but when I'm thinking of international medical standards, I'm not thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fly to Belarus and get my surgery done. You know what I mean? Like, that terrifies me because I want to go and travel random places like that because it's awesome to travel cheap. Like, it's so much fun to travel cheap.
I think
But I'm not
Belarus
doing
is
that.
one of the last communist countries in Europe, actually, if I remember correctly.
Well, is it communist or is it just a dictatorship? Or is that one and the same? I have no idea. I know it's an authoritarian style government, but what it officially is, who knows? It's a very, very strange that part
the
of the
Google
world.
shit in the bed there on you, bud. What's going on?
Oh, there it goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's lagging a bit here. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and to our listeners, like, I know most of you actually listen to the podcast because this is a podcast. This isn't a YouTube video, but we do throw everything that we're looking at up on our YouTube channel, so you can go check us out. Link in the description and everything if you want to see anything that we're actually looking at here. Some days we're better than others. Like, sometimes our internet likes working properly, and other days it doesn't. But yeah, because it wasn't like, just going off on Belarus, like, wasn't this one of the countries that was talking about, like, censoring the internet back in the day, like a couple years back in the day, a few years ago?
Sounds like a communist to me, bud.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, and here it is. Belarus is often described as Europe's last dictatorship due to the lack of civil rights and fair elections. So yeah, that would make sense, and that's what I've always heard about the place. Is it's I've never met anyone who's traveled there, but I've read stories about it. And apparently, it's super cheap, lots to do, but it's a little bit sketchy.
Should get this bald goof on the podcast. Hey, bud, tell us about Belarus.
Oh, he'd be on for sure.
No,
Who's
man.
this
He
guy?
looks. No, that's the president, man.
Oh
Like,
yeah, he looks like just a good dude. Look at that his mustache. You can't trust. You got to trust a guy with a
It's
mustache.
almost like
that.
it
Solid.
looks like Charlie Chaplin with gray hair.
I don't know about that. That dude looks like he can drink some vodka though. Like, he really does. Like, when you see a guy, you're like, oh yeah, that guy knows how to have a good time. Like, that guy knows.
Yeah. These were the goofs that were saying just hammer some vodka at the
Yeah.
start of this, right?
Yeah. This is him, and yeah, does he not look like he loves a good vodka? He does to me.
Did it have his salary there? I saw something about like 31,000 or something at the side. What was that at the bottom? That's his salary, 31,000.
Yeah,
Yeah,
$31,000 annually. That's he's
just
probably
crushing
living
it,
like
eh?
a king over there.
That's like a McDonald's part timer here or full timer maybe?
Well, you guys remember that movie Euro Trip from like early 2000s?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Scotty doesn't know, like that one, like Matt Damon. Wasn't it Belarus where they went there and they lived like kings for $1?
Yeah. There's a lot of countries like that, man. Like I know someone who went and spent like 6 months, or maybe it was 8 months, in Thailand, and there's a place where you can live on like $4 and live like a king for like $4 or $5 a day. It's crazy. There's some wild
Yeah.
places out there like that. Just
Yeah,
that we
my
forget because we pay so much for fucking the necessities, even in a country like this.
Yeah, my buddy, when we were in university, he took a year off, and then so he went from Thailand through Asia, through Nepal, and then all through India. And I think it was like 7 or 8 months he spent, and he's only spent $5,000 the whole time. I'm like, how the hell did you do it? He's like, yeah, you don't eat as much as you normally would because you're constantly hot and sweaty. Everything is dirt cheap. Only problem is you're fucking shitting your pants the whole time.
It's good food, but it does go through you pretty quick. That's for sure.
Yeah,
What do you
that
guys
was
hear about
Cuba.
the employers here, Bev? What do we got there, bud? Looks like you pulled up something here.
Oh, can employers make the vaccine mandatory? Oh, that's a good question. I wonder if they could. And in what industry? Like, could you imagine? Well, what would be the equivalent to that? Like in a medical sense, like what job would make? Well, I guess nurses have to take the flu shot, don't they? So I guess this is no different because this is just oversimplified another flu shot. Like,
Is it doesn't everyone have to take like hepatitis A and B shots or something
No.
like that? No.
like you don't have to. Like it's in school. Like I remember when I was like I'm a little bit older, and so they didn't have that when I was in school, so I had to go out and get it, and it costs money to go get it. Now it's all free to get the I think Twinrix, the hepatitis A B, but yeah, it wasn't mandatory. But why would you not get it? Like I loved like when I was especially like all through like high school and college and all that stuff, like going down south on the dirtiest, cheapest vacation, all inclusive for a week so I can go drink my face off. But that's where you're going to go catch hepatitis, somewhere around there. And of course I'm going to take that. Give me all the vaccines. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I know that like daycare workers, for instance, is one you don't necessarily think of, but they actually have to be vaccinated with certain vaccines and have proof of that every so many years and stuff like that.
oh,
too.
I bet, man. Like
sense.
kids are gross. Kids, like, none of us have kids like right now, but like they're sticky. They're just always sticky because they're just, you just look at kids and they just touch stuff constantly. So I could imagine how much sickness is going on in those places. Like, I don't know how they're staying open right now. Like how like the amount of attendance at a daycare must be so low right now, because if you have a sniffle or and like if the kid has anything, because a kid can't like hold in a cough or a sneeze or something like that. If you're a daycare worker, I'm assuming they're like, oh, take them home, go get a COVID test. We can't shut down. Like,
Yeah.
is that what it's like? Or
Well, yeah. So it sounds like it's, from what I'm hearing, it's one of those situations where they have to be really careful, make sure people are getting tests. They're pretty stringent about it. But also, if you compare, like, say, working somewhere like that, or taking your kids somewhere like that versus just going to like a mall or a retail store as well, like, the one way they're able to stay open is they have a lot more control. Like a retail store, for instance, or a mall or whatever, a restaurant, they have a limit of like X amount of people or whatever, right? But that's like let's say it's 20 people. That's 20 strangers every day, 20 completely different people walking into your store at a time or whatever. Whereas somewhere like that, it's the same people every day, and they can limit, even like say the parents for those kids are probably not allowed to actually go in physically to pick up their kid. They would have someone run that kid to the door to pick up and drop off or whatever too. So there's a lot more control, and I imagine a lot of schools and stuff like that are probably doing that as well. I don't think the average person can just go waltzing in a school anymore, right? So
whoa, could you ever? Well, actually, yeah, you could. Like, I
you can
remember
just walk into school in the middle of the day. There's never any locks
Yeah.
on doors or anything, right? But I imagine it's probably similar there right now too. So Although there is a
That's
lot
so
of people
whoa.
there.
Is that like whoa? Like let's back up a second. Is that not weird? Like I remember like being a salesman, just walking into schools. Like I just straight up just walked in and walked right into the administration office. Like I just a stranger. Like that's a little crazy, right?
I remember when I was a kid, it used to happen all the time at our elementary school. There'd always be like people just walk into the school, and they used to always hand out awards to kids who like reported it to a teacher. Because like in our school, like our teachers took lunchtime very seriously, so they were nowhere to be found during lunch. So it was basically just some like parents who volunteered to look after. Our school had about 160 kids. So 2 or 3 parents would be looking after 160 kids at recess. So people like it would happen all the time. Like one time, this guy he came into the school because he wanted to use the bathroom, but of course everybody's at lunch, so he just walks over and is using the bathroom, and like some kid walks in, sees this weird guy he's never seen before. Goes over and tells the teachers, and they all come rushing down. It's just some guys like I just wanted to use the bathroom. I didn't mean anything, but you never know.
Well,
that's
hey,
the thing, right?
So he goes into school, whips his cock out. Great, that's him.
Yeah. Well, I just want to use the bathroom. Like, would that ever cross your mind? No, I'd go piss on the side of the road and risk getting like a ticket. Like I've definitely done
exactly.
that. Like you're driving down the side of the road, pop open the car door, take a piss. Like
And
that's
this guy
what you
had
do.
no excuse. This is a country school too. He could have got like we're literally middle of nowhere. It would have been easy for him.
Yeah, he's definitely up to some sketchy shit. Like there's no way. Like it would never cross my mind. Like I gotta go take a piss. I'm gonna go to some school.
This guy's pissing in the kiddie toilets. The teachers are in their car, fucking ripping a bowl. What happened at this school?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's weird. Like we used to have, our school kind of backed onto like there's a tennis court type thing in the back, like down the hill and back in the corner, kind of like out of view. And we used to have like there used to be people walking through all the time, like into the schoolyard stuff. Might have like their dog or whatever, but it was like a closed off yard, so you really shouldn't have been there. But it used to happen all the time. It was just the weirdest thing. But I guess maybe it was different. Maybe in the 90s, people just didn't think as much of it. Now with all like, the stories of abductions and all that's all over the news and all the crime shows and stuff. Everyone's thinking, oh my God, I don't want anyone to think I'm, like a child molester or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they probably were child molesters, like walking through schools and stuff like that. Maybe not all of them, but just maybe like, one in a few. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
I don't know, man. You know what I've learned in the last few years is people do weird shit. Like they just do weird shit. Like they don't think twice. They just do whatever comes to mind. And so I don't know. I like to try and think, give them the benefit of the doubt. But man, people do.
Do you ever wonder what weird shit like you do or we do and that we don't know is weird? All the time. I do too. All the time. Like I know. I overshare. Like I definitely overshare, and like I know sometimes it's inappropriate, especially with like people you work with and things like that. Like even if you don't really know them that well, I'm just an overshare, and that's something that I know that's a little weird and it could throw people off. But I have no idea what else, like what mannerisms, what little things I do. I have no clue, and it's gonna be so. Well, do you guys know any weird things that I do off the top of your head?
I don't know. I don't know what you do. Like, that's weird, bud.
Perfect.
It seems normal to me.
Good. See, that's what I mean. Like maybe we're all just doing something super weird, but we're in our own little circle. Like
I will tell you
exactly.
one thing. It's nothing to do about being weird, but it's back to the old pissing in the school story there. I was before all the Rona happened. I was doing this volleyball league, and they're renting out gyms in like schools because it was at like nighttime or whatever, right? And we were in like an elementary school, and I had to go take a piss, and I forgot that like they made the toilets like the size of the kids that go there.
What?
So as a grown man trying to take a piss at a urinal that's like on the floor is hilarious. So of all the places that guy could stop to go take a piss, it's not even a great place to actually try and piss because you have to like basically get on your knees to take a piss in there. It's hilarious. Just go like, that's so weird though. Like, why would a guy do that? He was definitely trying to diddle you, bud. Like, I think you dodged a bullet on that one. Good thing that kid fucking blew the whistle on him. I'm just here pissing, bud. Kid comes by,
sure.
sees my dick, whatever.
Hey,
It's the country, bud.
Oh, Bev, give him the benefit of the doubt. Sees the good in people. Like, oh man. Is this just getting back to the vaccine real quick here? Is this a picture of the girl here, just for our YouTube viewers, that has got the first vaccine, or is this just a good job, team? We're doing it. And
I
number
think
two,
it's
who's
just
this
like
dude?
some stock photo of the Bill de Blasio. I think that's a New York mayor. Yeah,
Ah,
New York
okay.
mayor doing an forearm tap thing. Like, see, I don't see how this is any better. Well, maybe
So,
Gavin
so
West
for
up
our
there, but you
listeners,
should
they're
be
tapping
touching.
wrists. They aren't fist bumping. They're revert, like their knuckles are like the back of their hands are facing each other, and they're tapping wrists. What's the difference? Yeah, what is the difference? There's no difference. If anything, that's worse, because if you ever cough or sneeze, like you never cough in your hand, or you shouldn't. And is it not weird seeing people still coughing in their hands? Like, this has been a thing for like 15 years now. Like, don't fucking cough in your hands. Like,
I'm
just
telling you,
don't.
people do weird stuff. Here's a weird one I do. I always
Ooh.
rub my nose with the top of my top of like my wrist, I guess. So basically, exactly where Mayor Bill Blasio is tapping
Oh,
his
good thing he's
So
not
I
you.
always do that. Oh yeah. Oh
Oh
my
my
god.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what's
Well,
funny though? The other thing too is like you still see these people that are like basically bathing in fucking sanitizer and shit too, and like there has been like really like wide open reports that they said like the actual contact problem of COVID was like not nearly as bad as they initially thought. Like once they actually did some studies on it too, like they were that's what
Well,
they
so
were
how's
saying
it
is like
spreading then? How's it spreading?
the droplets, right? Like people like breathing it in.
So people not wearing masks and then breathing it in. Because like here's a great example of this. People do weird shit. You're at the gym. So I'm at the gym. I'm working out, and everyone's got to wear masks except for when you're working out. This dude in front of me takes his mask, pulls it off, sneezes, doesn't even cover it with his elbow or anything, sneezes, and then puts his mask back on. The fuck, man? Like, the whole point of the mask is to keep it in. Like, the mask isn't stopping anything from coming in. It's just a fucking little piece of paper or a piece of cloth that's not doing shit. It's to stop you from spitting everywhere. Couldn't fucking believe it. I'm looking around. No one even batted an eye. I blew my mind. Like, I put my gym pass on pause a little while ago, after I got sick. Like, not COVID. Like, I went and got tested, not COVID. But it's just like, how the fuck did I get sick? Like, I sanitize everywhere. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay, could have been like one of three places. Like, I saw a gross friend who coughed in his hand. Yeah, it could be that. Number two, I went out to some restaurants. Okay, yeah, could be that. And number three, it could be the gym that I was going to with dumb shit people who fucking take their masks off
Yeah.
and sneeze just into the air. Like, one of those three places, because I don't go anywhere else. Like, I don't know where else I could have caught a fucking cold. Like, how do you catch a cold right now when again, every store you go into, you have to pump the fucking whatever discount Mexican sanitizer. And I say Mexican because you look on Health Canada's website and most of it's coming from fucking there that's being recalled. And like, when you're pumping this thing that's like 90% alcohol all over your hands, like, yeah, this cannot be good for me.
No, yeah, it's just crazy. Never used sanitizer so much in my life, man. And I will say one little shout out to the gym is we just entered the red zone here where I'm living today, and it was my first red zone gym visit, and you're only allowed 10 people in there,
And they stayed
it was
open?
fucking amazing. Yeah, it's open, but it's only 10 people. But it was actually the
Oh,
best.
that would be
gym
the
I've
best.
been in
That would be the
months.
best.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was like
man.
4 old ladies on the treadmill, and the gym was like shared between me and like there wasn't even 5. There was only 9 of us there actually. They're allowed 10. It was just like me and a couple meathead guys, and it was great. So
Oh, man.
I'll
Yeah.
miss that. That's one thing I will miss. Now trying to get
Actually,
the
that
appointment is
makes
like trying
sense.
to buy a PS5 though.
Well, I was trying to figure out like the gym I go to is real. It's a bigger one, so they just said the hell with it and closed.
Oh,
but I
really?
got an email from one of the other gyms in the area, one of these like small 24-hour ones. Buzz your code and you can go in type thing. And they sent me an email saying, "Oh, we're still open. You could sign up with us." I thought, "Oh, what the hell? We're in red zone. How are you able to have a gym open?" But yeah, I guess as long as you're less than 10 people, you can do it. So that would make sense why our gym closed, because it
Yeah.
can cost a fortune to keep that place going.
Oh my god! And that's 10 people. I'm assuming, including staff. Like, a gym that size, it does have like 3 or 4 staff a minimum at all times, because you have the front desk people, the cleaners, and then the women's only section stuff. Like it's yeah, they can't stay open. And again, I just put my gym membership on pause like right after I got that cold. But yeah, the home gym stuff. Like any of you guys been able to get any decent home gym stuff? Like I know I was in the market last Christmas to get a gift of like adjustable weights, and the set I wanted wasn't there, and like, oh, the next setup, oh, it's an extra $50. I don't want it. Yeah, now it's like literally 5 times the fucking price this year. So I needless to say I don't have those adjustable dumbbells. But any of you boys been successful getting some home gym equipment?
I've got no room for it.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, I got myself
Big
a
D?
bench. Yeah. I grabbed a bench from the old Canadian Tire coming through clutch as it always does. And
Well,
it was
always,
like,
I don't know.
it was like $300. It's a decent
Okay.
bench, and then I bought some weights in like August, September, and an Olympic bar as well. Basically anticipating that we were going to be in this situation again. And my thought was the prices were lower again. They kind of dropped down to almost normal because shit wasn't really going wild anymore. And my thought is still actually that worst case scenario is like you use them for the next year or whatever, kind of on and off, with the gym closing and opening or whatever. And then when this shit's behind us, you can still sell them. Like people are always gonna buy that stuff,
Oh, yeah.
and like even like you'll get most of your money back out of it too. Like,
Well,
as long as you keep them in decent condition, then it looks like a pile of shit.
Yeah.
So for me, is like, what, if I get even like 50% of my money back in a year and a half from now, like it's a worthwhile investment to not be stuck with fuck all, if we lock down again or whatever.
Oh yeah. Well, like I took the approach to let's do tons of body weight stuff, and I did find some dumbbells and stuff like that. But when I was looking for like I remember looking, and people were wanting $120 for a single 20-pound dumbbell, and like it would be on on the use like on Kijiji for like a day, and then it's gone. It's already taken down. Like someone spent $120 on a single 120-pound dumbbell. Last year, like pre-COVID, it was $1 a pound for rubberized weights. Maybe in the cities and stuff like that, it's $1.50 a pound. Like that is insane. Insane the price difference. But I mean, desperate people do desperate things. Like I got enough now, but switching it up to the body weight thing, world of difference. Like on just the imbalances that you develop as you just do like your standard workouts over the years. And I know we've all been working out for years, and I know that like one side is stronger than the other on certain things, and your injuries that you just fight through and just cause greater imbalances. Switching to bodyweight stuff for me, at least, fix that huge. I mean, fix my crookedness, let's say, a ton. That being said, I am going to physio and massage and stuff like that 2 or 3 times a week right now because I fucked myself doing something else. But in general, it's been fantastic.
Well, I think the big lesson to be learned in all this is it really makes sense to have all that stuff at home if you can. I mean, because there's no doubt this will happen again. Like this is just a start. Like like the last one happened 20 years ago, I think, with I guess it was SARS,
yeah,
the original COVID. But it's gonna happen again the next 10, 20 years. There'll be another one of these where they have to shut everything down and. History always repeats itself, no matter what. That's one of those lessons you learn. Like history always repeats itself.
I just hope we do learn, though. I hope that whatever bad or good we get from like this has been a shit way to live for the last year, and everyone knows that. I'm not saying anything people don't know, and we're all pretty fortunate in the reality. There's a lot of people who have a lot of really shit things happening, but I really hope that they fucking take some of this shit forward, and we can improve on it. We can build some plans so that it's not such a fucking shit show the next time. I mean, it's never going to be ideal. I get that, but I hope for love of Christ that we at least are reasonable enough to know that it is going to happen again in some capacity, and what we should and shouldn't do, and prepare a little better for it, because everyone chirps Trump in the States and he's an idiot because he got rid of the task force, and that's 100% true. But Trudeau, and no, I won't say Trudeau, but Canada, Canada depleted a lot of their stockpile before all this too, because we were just sitting on all this shit, and it was costing us money, and we were replenishing it, and nothing had really ever happened, and then we kind of got caught with our pants down too, right? So I just hope
Yeah.
that whatever we do learn, good and bad, we actually fucking do learn, and we don't just fucking go, oh well, that sucked. Anyway, things are good now.
Yeah. And I really hope they do too. And I think that they will. Like the biggest things are bringing manufacturing, like reshoring, huge, and especially reshoring medical equipment. Like that's should be just be a no brainer. Like we subsidize so much industry here in Canada, like all different types of industry. Every province is a little different. Some provinces do way more subsidization than others, but why not subsidize things like that? Like that's just wild to me that we didn't. And they started to, like, and they did, and they gave a ton of government grants and things like that. But rolling forward, like that's got to be on your radar, because you can't just rely on everyone else. This goes into a bigger issue, like how connected we are. Like, are you a globalist? Are you whatever? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, of course, everyone depends on everybody else, but like, you should have that stockpile and the ability to produce that equipment in house. Like, you should be able to, just in case. Like it's been what 100 years since like World War I, or just over 100 years since World War I. Like something will happen again eventually. Like probably not for a little while, but I mean, like who really knows? But I mean, something will happen again, and then what? We're going to wait another year for people to develop it again? Like no, just be on the ball right away. Like I don't get it, and that's one thing that I guess is good that's coming out of it, but. Yeah, governments, I just wish, like, and this is going to sound kind of commie, but I just wish governments could make their own product, like make their own PPE, and not have it cost 5 times the amount that private industry was, because there's a million different unions and task forces on how they're going, what color the mask is going to be and shit like that. But
Yeah,
it would just make sense.
Yeah, and we're talking about,
But it will never happen. Never happen.
yeah, we're talking about the government learning from this, and they absolutely need to. But people as well too, right? And I'm as outspoken as anyone else that I fucking can't stand wearing a mask, 100%. But especially if you are sick and stuff like that, like that's something where where I live, there's a lot of folks who are, from the international community that come here for school and whatnot. So there's a lot of folks from China and other places. Who it's very commonplace that if they have a cough or a cold or whatever, that they just throw a mask on. And that's one thing that I will say, even as someone who's not super, in love
Same.
with wearing a mask, like I hope we take that best practice forward. Like, it's just like if you have a bit of a sneeze or a cough, or whatever, like just that alone, COVID aside, the amount of like just germ spread for flu season and shit that you cut down on by doing that. And it's such a simple thing to do.
I'll do it.
A lot of sense. I don't see why you wouldn't do it, but I'm
Well,
sure
even
people will.
something like having the hand sanitizers when you walk into a store. I mean, something like that I think would be hugely beneficial. And now that's kind of habitual for people. I think if you just keep doing it, or like mandate, you have to have something like that. Like, I think that would help quite a bit.
Yeah, I do love the mask thing for people who are sick. Like after this, like, okay, COVID-19 is going to be done this summer. You know what I mean? Realistically, it's just going to be over. And then after that, like if you're sick, wear a mask. Like, yeah, that just literally makes sense. If you're sick and you have employees, let them work from home. Don't make them use a sick day. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we all work on computers in some sense. You know what I mean? Like even, well, not all of us, I guess. A lot of the service-based industry, let's say, works on computers. Like, why do I need to be in the office? So I can sit there and have a million useless meetings. So I physically walk over to your desk and have you not be there because you're in another useless meeting. Like, I get so much more done throughout the day working from home, and I'm so much more productive. And you can see that in, like, I know at least my employee, whatever my metrics are, you can see how productive I am. And I know both of you guys have been more productive this year than last year too. Like it just goes to show, like, why are we spending an hour a day each way driving into a fucking office? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's true, and it's crazy because I work in a job where I'm visiting with business partners, and trying to accomplish goals and have meetings and things like that, which is a challenge when they're also still running a business sometimes. And there's been times where I have something that I want to get done that day that I can't get done just simply because there wasn't really stringent meeting times or anything set for it, because it was my job is one that's a little bit more
Yeah.
kind of free flowing, and actually by working from home and COVID and doing a lot more meetings and trainings and things like that over the internet and with video calls and stuff like that, it's actually been able to give me a more structured workflow, and with those people, give them a better idea of kind of when we're going to be doing what. And that's just I know some people would say, well, you should just always be booking those appointments. So I work in a industry and in a job where that's not always the case, and you kind of do need to be able to just roll the punches. But I think that planning a little bit better and smarter, and being a little bit more strategic with my calendar, even when I am back face to face with this stuff, I think that's something that I definitely am going to value and take back, right? To be more effective, because I feel like I actually got a lot more accomplished and a lot more quantifiable objectives that I could show my boss, in our team. And that's a big thing for us is how do you quantify what these meetings and trainings and things like that actually accomplish. So yeah, just not only the actual act of doing those things, but also even my own ways of tracking it, because the reality is you're working from home and you just want to have something to show for it, right? Like it's hard to tell your boss that I didn't do anything all day, so you naturally start trying to kind of quantify what you're doing, and for me that was a great thing that I will take forward. So I think that as much as we all want to shit on COVID and 2020 and all this stuff, and I was thinking about this earlier when I was driving in my car, there's a lot of things that did come positive out of it, both personally and professionally, for a lot of people. And I think that a lot of employers do recognize that some employees actually work a lot more effectively from home, right? So I'm hoping that that is the majority and not the minority, but we'll see after all this, right?
Yeah, I saw an article today that a lot of the great example, and I can't wait to see next year's earnings from these REITs that own commercial real estate, because people are jumping ship left, right, and center. But like there was just a personal thing, like where people in some downtown Toronto neighborhoods were getting approximately $500 less a month for their units than they were last year when they're trying to rent them out again. Like units in Toronto are the same price as a unit in downtown Waterloo. So Waterloo is this city in the outer GTA. It's not even really the GTA. It's like sort of the tech hub of Canada, like Silicon Valley North-ish, like that in Ottawa, like one of those two places. But I mean, there's no way a city with a couple 100,000 people versus a city with a couple million people should have the same amount of rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in any sense of the world. But that's what's happening, because you don't have to go to an office downtown Toronto in an office building anymore. So you're working remote. Why the hell am I living in this apartment that's costing me $3,500 a month to just live there and do nothing? Like, oh, I have a car. Oh, it's going to be $500 to park it there for the month or whatever. Like it's crazy. Like, and people are realizing that. And I think that's going to be another slow impact that we see over the next 5 years, is people moving out of urban city centers. But who knows?
Well, it'll be good. It'll be good for all the small towns and across Ontario. Hopefully, revitalize them if you have people. And given that the government's starting to invest all the money in broadband, so they're running fiber internet all over the place. Obviously, 5G is going to come out. So if everybody has access to high-speed internet out in the country, or even what's his face, Tesla, Elon Musk satellite internet. I mean, like there's you take away so much incentive to live in the city, unless you want to live want to live on the 30th floor in a box type lifestyle.
Yeah. And you know what? We were talking in a previous podcast about, how are we going to grow our population and, stimulate our economy and stuff like that in Canada. And we were talking about immigration. And yeah, all these people are going to come in here for sure. And we need somewhere to put people too, right? So I think that, having these areas grow, exponentially in the next few years is going to be great, because I think we will have new Canadians coming in who need jobs and need places to live, and some of these, you might see some of these small towns get a little bigger, and I think that's a good thing as well. And but I do expect to see a mass exodus of Toronto in the next little while, and other bigger cities in Canada as well. We're just using Toronto as our example because we're most familiar with it. But those folks who live down there, yeah, one, they live down there because they work down there, and that's their main reason for doing that. But a lot of their lifestyles, we're talking about people in their, like, maybe mid to late 20s, and they don't have kids, and it's all about going out and having drinks and being the downtown life, and none of that's going on right now as well too, right? So now suddenly they're having to face the reality of that shoebox condo they're in for $2,500 a month, right? I think the shoebox not so bad when you're not really ever there. You're just sleeping, right? You're going to work, you're going downtown, whatever, right? But
Yeah,
now
but
suddenly you're just chilling on your little tiny condo couch and your little tiny condo box, and you're like, holy fuck, what am I doing?
yeah, you're sitting there swiping on Tinder with a bunch of people that don't want to meet up with you. Like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm just sitting here in my box in the sky. I make my money and I can't spend it. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. Like, this sucks. And you're sitting there and you're on your real estate app or whatever you're on. You're looking like, wow, I can trade this box in the sky right now for this giant house an hour and a half away from here. Yeah, I'm going to go do that. Yeah, that's way better. Anyways, guys, I think we covered a lot today. It's not everything we wanted to, but I think we got what we needed out of today, being a historic moment for Canada, being the first day that someone got a COVID-19 vaccine. It'll be very interesting to see, and I really do want to visit this podcast again and see where things are come Q3, Q4, 2021. Like, see actually how many people, see if they actually did hit that 50% immunization rate that they're hoping for right now, or the 70%. But on that note, thanks for joining us on the pod, and we'll see you in a few days.